Welcome back to episode 61 of the Sleeper Sports Media Podcast. I am Nick Wietosh, once again joined alone, but that's okay. We're going to go over some review of Dynasty, AEW's most recent pay-per-view from last night. We're going to preview Monday Night Raw tonight, go into a Dynamite preview for the week, and then talk about SmackDown if they have anything out already. And then obviously go into some WWE Draft news, which the draft is this Friday night on SmackDown. We'll continue next week into Raw. The news that we've gotten so far is that across all three brands, the entire roster is eligible to go to any one of the three brands. And this is going to be the WWE's way to reintroduce NXT as the third brand and not just developmental. And I'm excited for that. Also, to the news and rumors reports from Fightful Select specifically, since I am a subscriber to Fightful Select, on who's eligible, who's likely to stay where they're at, and any updates on all the classifications of what the titles are, and if I think the titles are going to switch brands and whatnot. But we're going to start with AEW Dynasty. So we have the 0 hour portion of the show, kickoff show, however you want to call it. It was Trent Beretta versus Matt Sydal with Mike Sydal. I missed this match, but it looks like Trent got the win, and then had a little bit of a face-to-face face-off with Orange Cassidy as he came out. Then speaking of that, as that first match ended on 0 hour, we went into Shane Taylor Promotions versus Shibata and Orange Cassidy. I did see that one, watched a little bit of that one. Orange Cassidy and Shibata did get the win, and then that went into the winner take all title for title AEW World Trios Championships. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus the ROH World Six-Man Champs, Bang Bang Gang, and the Acclaimed would drop their titles, and now those two sets of titles are unified. So the Bang Bang Gang is now double champs. Don't know if they're going to continue them as the lineage of the AEW World Trios or just AEW six-man. I don't know what they're going to do, or if they're going to just call them the Unified World Trios Champions, because that's what it says here on the notes on the results on AEW.com. I don't have an issue with these three matches. I do see, they added this one to the 0 hour match as a 0 hour match, but it could have been on the main card, and you could have had Jericho and Hook on 0 hour. But I mean, looking at it match wise, the story wise, this could have been on the main show, and then the other one could have been on 0 hour. Match wise, it does make sense they had Jericho and Hook on the main show, given that it was a good match up until the ending, which was just weird. Then we get to, so again, Bang Bang Gang, they win and unify the trios titles. Then we get to the actual pay-per-view, the Continental Championship, Okada and Pac, however you want to say his name. I didn't care for this one too much, so I was trying to find other stuff and fighting with my computer last night as we did the watch along, which I did end up missing a good bit of, but I stayed active in the comments, in the chat for Earl, Sarah, and Mac. Pac would go and lose this one. Then we went into the trios match. Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe versus the House of Black. I think we all took the House of Black to win this one. We all kind of agreed that, Adam Copeland, or given that they were all champions on the babyface team, it would be tough for any one of them to take the pin, unless it would immediately set up a future championship match, which I think is what they're going to do. And I believe it was Copeland that took the pin, and it was Malachi Black that got the pin on Copeland. So I believe what I would do, I'm sure what a lot of people would do, would be to do the TNT Championship at Double or Nothing, Malachi Black versus Copeland. That's going to be a great match. So I don't have an issue with that if that's the way that they go. The next one was the TBS Championship match. Julia Hart, Willow Nightingale. There's so many people that have such an issue with this one, from just that Julia Hart wasn't ready for a title. She hasn't done anything with it. There's no positives for Willow and what she did match wise. Willow ended up winning, and now we get Mercedes Moné and Willow at Double or Nothing, which we found out that the reason why they're delaying Mercedes Moné's debut in ring for AEW is because she's still dealing with the foot injury. She's not quite clear yet, but as Tony Khan said at the media scrum, she will definitely be cleared by Double or Nothing. A lot of people are saying that if Willow's just going to be a transitional champion, why not have her go and face Julia again, and then have Julia win it back? Which that doesn't make any more sense than getting Willow as the champion to begin with. There's long-term storytelling with Willow and Mercedes. That was her last match before she got injured. She blames Willow for the injury, so it just makes sense. And anyone who's going to hate on this whole situation with what Julia Hart did with the title, if she wasn't ready or wasn't ready, that's done and over with now, and this is what we're on to. We go on to the AEW International Championship. Roderick Strong retains versus Kyle O'Reilly, and we get a returning Adam Cole. I was watching and not watching this throughout the duration of the match. I just don't care about the storyline. It was so random to continue this while Adam Cole was hurt and then have him off TV for a while, especially because MJF is nowhere to be found. We don't know if he's re-signed. We don't know if he's getting surgery. He's going to be out longer. We don't know if he's going to end up signing somewhere else. But the Undisputed Kingdom thing has reached its peak, and then all of a sudden it just died out. So Roderick Strong retains. We see Adam Cole return. He looks to be healthy, I guess. So I guess we will see what they do to kind of get the spark back for this story, for this storyline and whatever else. Then we go into the FTW Championship, Hook versus Chris Jericho. I thought the match was good. It was kind of randomly added, given that they were a tag team, and then Jericho was mentoring Hook, whatever, and then all of a sudden Hook doesn't want it, whatever, and then they have the meeting with Taz on the go home show of Dynamite, and then all of a sudden Jericho pushes Taz, and then boom, the match is added. The crowd was not having it with Jericho. They were chanting, "Please retire, go home." And Fozzy sucks. But I mean, Jericho, one of the best ever. So it's pretty bad whenever the crowd just wants to throw hate instead of the respect that certain caliber wrestlers deserve. So Jericho is the new FTW champion. I don't know if this was a hey Hook, look, if you're going to say that you want to explore free agency once your contract expires, fine, but then we're going to get you squashed and lose your title before you do that. Still no idea when Hook's contract would be up, but I know he did say that he would love to explore free agency, at least test the waters. And then we go into from that mess, we go into the AEW Women's World Championship match. Timeless Toni Storm retains against Thunder Rosa. This was a shock to me, especially with what we got from Toni Storm afterwards at the media scrum, her throwing shots at Cody Rhodes, and just, again, mixing it up and taking shots at WWE that aren't necessary, aren't needed. Given that Will Ospreay went up there and said that that is behind him and he doesn't need to do that anymore. Taking jabs back at Triple H for what he said, even though his name wasn't mentioned directly. It was a decent match. I know there's going to be so much hate from Tony retaining and then continuing the gimmick that she's on and the Mariah May part of it, whatever. I don't mind it. I mean, this is the best Tony Storm has ever been. So you got to do something to build someone up to get onto her level, and then that's whenever she drops the title. But I love her as the champ for AEW. I also love the next match that was the American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus the Aerial Assassin Will Ospreay. Was a fantastic match for sure. Kind of scary at the very end whenever Danielson grabbed at a shoulder or neck, whatever it was. Ospreay was very apologetic during the media scrum and apologized and everything like that. There was "This is awesome" chants, "We're not worthy" chants, "Fight forever." Just blew everyone's expectations of what the match could have been out of the water, and Ospreay did get the win. And that was that. We're going to go into then the ladder match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Again, everyone's going to be pissed and upset and not like the decision of who won this one, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it was the right call in what perspired to lead to the winner being determined. FTR, Cash Wheeler, and Dax Harwood versus the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks would end up winning, and they are the first ever 3-time AEW Tag Team Champions. We also got a return of the Scapegoat, and I called this from the very beginning whenever they showed the footage, if this was a way to spark the rivalry and feud and lead to Jack Perry's return to AEW, which is exactly what happened. It all made sense. So wasn't a terrible match. I know a lot of people aren't happy with the way that the Young Bucks are, what they're doing and everything, but just keep on crying, you Cody crybabies. It's fine. And then we go into the AEW World Championship match, the main event. Samoa Joe and Swerve Strickland. This match was everything that we thought it was going to be. Swerve is absolutely the exact person who I would want to be the face of my company, and now he's the face of AEW, and he's going to carry that title, I hope, for a long, long time. Samoa Joe was more than just a transitional champion, which I think a lot of people are going to should be happy about. There's nothing wrong with what Joe's run was. Wasn't anything comparable to MJF's, which is still one of the best, if not the best. But I think Swerve's will be a close second to that, if not past that, as we see how his title run is going to lay out. Swerve won it. I mean, everyone big pop for it. Very happy reactions from social media and Twitter wise. And that led into the media scrum of Toni Storm saying what she said. And just telling Tony Khan that no matter how many wins she gets, how many stories she finishes, she won't ever call him into the ring to celebrate with her, which is obviously taking a shot at Cody Rhodes. That's, again, not needed, especially after Will Ospreay went up there and said, someone asked him about Triple H's comments and his jab back, and he explained that and said he's done with that. Yes, that was AEW Dynasty. Wasn't a bad show. The matches always do make up for the poor build, which was very, very, very poor build for this newest pay-per-view. We did get someone asking Tony Khan about the media rights and what he thinks will be going forward once the new rights are reached, where we'll see a Dynamite in the weekly shows and as well as the pay-per-views. And he didn't really give us an answer besides saying they have so much content with AEW and all the previous episodes of Dynamite, Collision, coming up on a year. and also Rampage. Didn't name drop specifically or say anything like HBO Max or Max, whatever. He did just say that he loves his partnership with Warner Bros. Discovery. So, given that the streaming service with them would be Max, I hope that that's what they do. He also confirmed that the next two pay-per-views, Double or Nothing and Forbidden Door, will be cross streamed on Trailer, YouTube, and Bleacher Report in the US, and then other Dave and Buster's and all that stuff. But nothing confirming that we could see the pay-per-views for AEW go from Bleacher Report to Max and be on a streaming platform. He didn't seem like he was shutting down the idea, but he didn't confirm or give a positive hint that it's definitely going to happen. He did say by 2025 he could see something like that happening, in the sense of all the library of AEW being AEW, Ring of Honor, and what they do partner-wise with New Japan being in one spot. My guess would be that would be going to Max as the one library. And that was pretty much wrapping up the AEW Dynasty, which happened last night. Again, then it's going to be a permanent pay-per-view going forward. So they had, like he said, also like Tony Khan said, they started with 4 in their first year, and now within year 5, we're up to nine per year. Could 2025? Could we see 2 more added, one to 2 more added, and then by 2026 in year 6 or 7, whatever that would be, another 1 to 2, and then we get 12, one every month. We get 2 in 1 month. It's going to be exciting to see with what they want to do and how many pay-per-views in a year they want to add, continuing to do these special events like the Homecoming and Battle of the Belts, given that they throw them on a Saturday with Collision and then have 3 hours. They still have a mix of 5 to 6 hours of regular cable wrestling. So it's going to be fun to see what AEW does going forward. I just hope that they can figure out how to actually build towards a pay-per-view and then have everything pay off for not only the matches paying off, but the build of the storylines paying off. Wrapping that up, AEW Dynasty was, again, good show, and we go into this next week of Dynamite Homecoming back in Jacksonville at the Daly's Place. So we can finally see if they're going to actually build to Double or Nothing and have a good, decent build and get everyone excited. I, for one, was not excited. All my excitement was lost the second they showed the footage 2-3 weeks ago of the backstage fight with Jack Perry. Now that Jack Perry's back, I wonder where they're going to go with him. If he's back permanently, if this was just a one-off, if he's even going to, if we're going to know when he's going to show up. But going into, I guess I'll preview Dynamite first, since we're on the topic of AEW. So as of right now, there is only one match confirmed, one segment confirmed. So I'll be updating for Dynamite throughout the week. But right now, we know the return of Jon Moxley to Dynamite as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. He will face Powerhouse Hobbs at Dynamite Homecoming and the return to Jacksonville. It will be live coast to coast, as Tony Khan stated in the media scrum. They're going to be the lead-in for the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it'll be 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. And that's going to wrap up the AEW Dynasty Dynamite portion of this episode. Don't forget, code SLEEPER will get you 15% off at shankitgolf.com for all the golf merch you want: polos, quarter zips, hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, gloves, towels, everything you could possibly want. Cool designs, keep your golf game fun, look good and play good, or look better than how you play. But yeah, we're going to go into preview for Monday Night Raw tonight, April 22nd. We got a battle royal for the to crown the new women's world champion. This was interesting in how they threw this together and said that this is they just said a new women's champion will be crowned on Raw. They didn't say how, and then Friday night we saw a video of different superstars that were going to be, I'm sure that we could tell were going to be involved. And I thought it was going to be a ladder match because I saw the title and I thought it was in the thing that goes above the ring being over a ladder match, but it's going to be a battle royal. And the superstars that are going to be in it are Becky Lynch, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Natalya, Tegan Nox, Ivy Nile, Maxine Dupree, Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, Piper Niven, Candice LeRae, Chelsea Green, and Indy Hartwell. So my issue right off the bat is that the entire Raw women's division, most of them these are all tag teams except for Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, and Becky Lynch. Everyone else listed is part of a tag team. So really, you're having a battle royal when you could just have a triple threat between the only 3 women that are actual singles competitors. So we got to figure out something in the sense of building up actual single stars and not just having the Raw women's division of 12 to 15 people, and the majority, 80% of that are all tag teams. It just doesn't make any sense. Also, I think Liv Morgan is the way to go. Becky Lynch is coming off a loss at WrestleMania. She did just lose to Rhea. So again, I don't know how you could make sense of her losing to Rhea, then all of a sudden winning the title 2-3 weeks later. Liv Morgan's the one that took Rhea out. You could piece it together, making more sense for Liv to win this than a Becky Lynch or Nia Jax, who both just lost to Rhea. Nia Jax losing to Rhea at Elimination Chamber, Becky losing to her at WrestleMania. And this also is going to be fun because the draft is on Friday. So as I sit here and say about the women's division and everything needing a revamp and, figuring out tag teams and whatnot, I think it's got to be like you're in the singles division or you're a tag team. Like, why are we because now you could see different tag teams go after each other, start to help each other, but then turn. And then what happens if they don't get drafted the same brand and then in the draft? It's just going to be, as it says here on the description, a free-for-all. So then we get the World Tag Team Championship match, DIY versus Awesome Truth, or also Regeneration X, as R-Truth thinks that it's Shawn Michaels and Triple H. And that's probably one of the best parts about what's going on with Raw and everything. I wouldn't be upset if DIY wins tonight at all. I mean, a lot of people thought they should have had their moment at WrestleMania. I know that this was a way to give R-Truth his moment at WrestleMania. Now we can have, DIY win the titles eventually. I would be okay either way with Miz and R-Truth retaining and then going, having the run go a little bit longer, or DIY winning the night. I would be okay with either one. And then we have a tag team match, Andrade and Ricochet versus the Judgment Days, Dirty Dom and JD McDonough. Excited for this one, I guess. I mean, it's kind of random to, again, throw a tag team together and then try to put, like, Andrade came back, was being presented as a star, then we didn't see him for a while, then we saw him backstage wise, and then he gets involved with the Judgment Day and then turns and then is cool with Dom and then isn't. I'm excited for the draft and see how everything is going to shake up, and we're going to put to rest these storylines that don't quite make sense. And then the final segment that we have listed as of now for Raw is the return of Gunther. Gonna see what he has to say after losing his Intercontinental Championship, and what he has planned to do next. That's going to be the Raw portion. As we go into some draft news. All right, so the WWE Draft we know of as of right now, NXT superstars that are eligible more than likely going to be a call up, and being drafted to Raw or SmackDown. Ela Dragunov is eligible, as well as Carmelo Hayes being eligible. Trick Williams was being in talks to be called up to Raw or SmackDown, but now is being looked at as likely to stay in NXT and be the face of NXT going forward, and that time will help him. They're spring breaking, which week 1, it's a 2-week event. Looks like there's 4 matches for week 1, 3 matches for week 2. We have the stipulation on the NXT Championship match of Ela versus Trick. If Trick loses, he leaves NXT. You could see this. They could do a swerve and have Trick win, and that would ultimately then send Ela to into the draft, and we see him get drafted on SmackDown of night 1 of the draft. Roxanne Perez, she was teased on the Raw after Mania. She showed up, had just like Dragunov did, but it's likely she's still up in the air if she will be caught up and drafted to Raw or SmackDown. It was also teased that if Trick Williams does win at Spring Breaking and becomes NXT champion, he could have a summer feud with Dijak before one or both of those guys are brought up for the usual fall call-ups. Braun Breaker likely going to remain being drafted to SmackDown since he is signed, quote unquote, with SmackDown. Baron Corbin, Tony D'Angelo, and family are likely also to be part of the draft. And then that's the NXT talent that is eyeing a call-up, and then they could shake up everything with Raw and SmackDown and send different tag teams, different girls that are right there, but also could benefit more from being down and help NXT more. Also, Spring Breaking, week 1, April 23rd, Sol Ruca versus Blair Davenport in a beach brawl. The D'Angelo family versus No Quarter Catch Crew in a 6-man tag match. Damon Kemp is involved in that. And then you have a triple threat for the NXT Women's Championship. Roxanne Perez, Lyra Valkyria, and Tatum Paxley. You could potentially see maybe Roxanne loses in this, and then she's in the mix for the draft for a call-up. Also looks like I said, Dragunov and Williams for the NXT Championship. If Williams loses, he has to leave NXT. Could definitely see him winning and then being in the mix with the draft. Him winning, staying in NXT, Dragunov then being in a mix with the draft. And then week 2 is April 30th. Of course, this would be after the final night of the draft, which would happen on Monday. Oba Femi versus Ivar for the NXT North American Championship. Axiom and Nathan Frazier versus Authors of Pain for the NXT Tag Team Championship. I would not be upset by any means if they send the Authors of Pain, Karrion Kross, Scarlett, and Paul Ellering back to NXT, and I don't have to deal with them on SmackDown or Raw. And then you have an NXT Underground match, Natalya versus Lola Vice. Natalya has a contract coming up, so who knows what she's going to do. She falls into the mix of Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and Finn Balor for those that have contracts coming up. And that is NXT Spring Breaking. A little bit of a preview of the draft news. The NFL definitely did not miss with having the draft be right now with the NFL draft coming up. Also, it's being rumored that Aaliyah could be making a return in the draft this coming this coming Friday. Also on SmackDown, we're going to have the contract signing of AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes is going to be back on SmackDown, likely to be the first pick of the draft for either Raw or SmackDown. Still not 100% sure if he's going to stay on SmackDown, if he's going to go back to Raw with that title. Then they're going to switch, break up the Judgment Day. There's so much that could unfold and could happen. Free agents from the 2023 draft were Baron Corbin, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Elias, Zion Quinn, Omos, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, and Von Wagner. And now we have the only ones left of those free agents are Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander, and Omos, as Shelton Benjamin was released, Elias was released, Zion Quinn was one of the ones that was recently released. Obviously, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, they were released a while ago, are now doing other things. And Von Wagner was just released today. Also, a list of the other superstars that were released within the last week: Jinder Mahal, Indus Sher, Zia Lee, were all releases. Then they all have 90-day non-compete clauses. There's also going to be a mix of superstars from Raw and SmackDown that are going to be drafted to NXT. So that's kind of interesting that they could. I don't know if they're going to have Ava be a part of the draft and her make picks as well. I don't know why they wouldn't hold a draft part on NXT as well. But I guess since they're doing spring breaking, I mean, that does make sense. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much laid out of call-ups that we pretty much have been expecting for the last couple of months. I mean, Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, I figured they've been main roster ready. Trick obviously is going to stay and be the face of NXT, and Melo, I could see him being on Raw or SmackDown, either one. Exciting for that. And then from there in the draft news, we have other news. We also have our Matt Hardy shows up in TNA this past weekend, but he, tweeted out that he's remaining a free agent. He can show up whenever he wants. So that gives me hope that we definitely will see a Hardy Bros final run and reunion in the WWE. And also with that, Jeff Hardy's contract is set to expire. It was reported that it was going to be the end of this year, but it could be pushed to 2025 due to him missing time for various different reasons. He's also out right now with an injury, concussion issues. I believe it was being reported that it's up to AEW if they would want to extend it even further into 2025, given that he's missed so much time. Other news, real quick, as I can wrap this episode up, and get ready for Monday Night Raw and the watch along tonight on the Hardcore Sports Network. Also, if you haven't already done so, please go follow and subscribe to them on all the different social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all of those other ones that they are on and active part of. We have a list of future events for both AEW the rest of the year and WWE for the better part of the summer into the fall. BackLash France coming up in a couple of weeks, May 4th. And then King and Queen of the Ring makes its return in Saudi Arabia on May 25th, which is also the 3-year anniversary of when Sleeper Sports Media was founded. So that's very exciting. Big episode coming up for that. The 26th, then, so that's a double weekend of wrestling. WWE on the 25th, and then the 26th, Double or Nothing. Very exciting for that one. We also know that we only have one match for now. TBS Championship, Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Moné. For BackLash France, we have 2 matches, both the world titles, the WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles, the World Heavyweight Championship, Damian Priest versus Jey Uso. And these 4, they could potentially go anywhere in the draft. So I'm sure the draft won't officially take place or go into effect. The results of the draft won't officially take place and go into effect until after BackLash. And then we have, like I said, Double or Nothing. And then in June, we have NXT Battleground, which was just announced today that it will be held in the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. So back-to-back weekends of wrestling of events taking place in Vegas. Then we had, at the end of June, we have June 15th, we have Clash at the Castle for WWE. And then the 30th, we have Forbidden Door 3 in Long Island, New York. It's now at the UBS Arena, not at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Then we have July. On the 6th, we have Money in the Bank from Ontario, Canada. Also from Canada, we have NXT Heatwave. Then we roll into nothing for AEW in July. Then we have August. We have SummerSlam in Cleveland. We have All In on the 25th. Then that's in Wembley. Surprised that they haven't been showing that tickets are available for that. I'm sure it's coming up since it's been so long since they've been promoting for that. Then we have the 31st, the Bash in Berlin. That's in Germany. Then from here on out, we have the rest of AEW shows all out on the 1st of September in Chicago. Then October, we have the 12th, Wrestle Dream in Tacoma, Washington. A lot of speculation that that's going to be Bryan Danielson's retirement match, and that's going to be centered all around him, given that he did confirm that this would be his last full-time year of wrestling. No confirmation on this, but I would expect a Crown Jewel to be in October, and then Survivor Series to be in November. AEW Full Gear is on the 23rd, and I would expect, unless Thanksgiving is that following weekend, then, because that would be kind of dumb for AEW to schedule a pay-per-view whenever they know that Survivor Series is always that weekend. So I don't know if they're going to fall on the same night, given that is, unless it's Saturday, Sunday as well. No, that is a Saturday. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to end up changing that moving that to Sunday, or they're going to keep it on Saturday and go head to head with WWE and Survivor Series and War Games. But that is Full Gear, the 23rd of November in Newark, New Jersey. And then we don't have confirmation that there's going to be a Survivor Series, War Games, or whatever. But that is a tradition that WWE does, so I would assume that they will keep that going. And then to finish it up, we have December the 28th, World's End for AEW in Orlando, Florida. And WWE usually does not do a December show anymore besides NXT Deadline. And that is the shows what we have coming up for the rest of this year. No news on MJF, where or when he will show up. But that is going to wrap up episode 61 of the Sleeper Sports Media Podcast, a shorter one. I will see you again on Thursday for episode 62.